Hi guys, in this episode of Plumbing Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the 5th episode of the 8th and final season of one of my favorite shows ever, Fear the Walking Dead. The episode's name is More Time Than You Know. And it seems like we are still continuing the general pattern of this season of good episode, bad episode, good episode, bad episode, or at least more so, good episode, kind of boring episode. Good episode, kind of boring episode. Because first episode of this season was boring. Episode 2 was pretty good. Episode 3 was kind of boring. Episode 4 was really good. And now episode 5, I mean, it's kind of leaning towards the somewhat boring side of things. Like, I don't think it was, again, as bad as episode 3 or episode 1 was. But it definitely wasn't anywhere near as good as episode 2 or 4. So there's that. Although there's definitely certain things about the episode that I actually enjoyed quite a lot, but it felt somewhat fillery considering the events that happened in the last episode and the events that seems like they're gonna be happening in the next episode. It has a little bit of that issue, just like the first episode, where it feels like it just didn't really have quite enough content to feel like a whole episode. Maybe 30 minutes, but not the full episode, because I feel like certain scenes went on for longer than they should have. I think it's my biggest issue with it, but anyway, so this episode is dealing, obviously, with the fact that Grace is now bitten and that Morgan is trying to get her to June to give her the radiation cure. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work, but you probably already know that if you've seen the episode or if you saw the thumbnail of this video, because it's a really cool looking thumbnail and I'm really proud of it. But yeah, it didn't really work out. But before we got to that point in the episode, there was a lot of just kind of random scenes going nowhere and a lot of scenes that just felt all over the place for me. That kind of makes the episode feel a little bit disjointed and a little bit like it doesn't know where it wants to go. That really bothered me about the episode and kind of made it hard for me to care. Like, it didn't really feel like there was necessarily much of a connective tissue between all the plots in this episode, because one was dealing with White and Cherry's kid, one part of the episode was dealing with Morgan and Grace's bite, and one part of the episode was dealing with what Padre wants to do and like clearing out that area with the containers where their father died, because they want to get all the supplies and shit from there. It's like all of these three plots just didn't really quite mesh as well together as they should have. Like, I feel like the episode should have just focused on Morgan and Grace's stuff and their relationship and everything, because I didn't really care about anything else. That was the best part of the episode. Sure, we had the Dwight and Sherry stuff, and I care about them quite a lot, and I don't want to see their son suffer, but the fact that I don't understand and I don't know whether their kid is going to survive or not, it's just really bothering me, because he was apparently fine, and then in this episode, the fever is back. So is he gonna survive or not? I don't want them to suffer like that. I don't want them to lose their son. That's what I said in my review of episode 2, where it feels like the writers are hurting their child, not out of actual, like, thought about a cool storyline, but just for shock value, and because they don't value the life of their son, and they don't value their characters, they don't care about their characters, because they shouldn't be going through that after all the shit that they've suffered through, you know? But yeah, there was that stuff, and I guess we're gonna have to wait and see where it's gonna go. I really hope their son survives, because I don't know where the storyline is going to go if he ends up dying. Like, what are they gonna decide to have another kid that is not gonna die due to radiation? Are they gonna get killed, so that storyline will be over? Like, where are you planning to go with these characters, show? I don't know, but clearly it is planning to go somewhere if the direction in which the plot with Morgan and Grace went is any indication. I gotta say, though, I don't really like characters being bit and suffering from it. I don't really like watching that in Fear the Walking Dead, because we had a lot of that same going in and out of consciousness bullshit that we had with Alicia last season, and it was just as annoying now as it was back then. That was really frustrating to watch. Luckily, it didn't really play too much of a role in the episode, but it was just really annoying how they just used that to kind of skip time and everything in the episode. Not gonna lie though, everything that had to do with Grace dying from the bite and everything, I actually enjoyed quite a lot. The reason being that, not that I necessarily like relate to Mo's character and everything, but it's like I at least relate to losing your mom. Not that I have lost my mom, but I don't want to lose my mom. I love her, I care about her a lot. I honestly couldn't live without her in many ways, in the many meanings of that sentence. I genuinely couldn't live without her. So it every time a character is losing their mom like that in a show, it just really hurts me, especially if the mom character is like more likable than usual, because I didn't really have that with Lori on the main show because the mom didn't really feel likable. But with Grace, she's been likable enough, so it does hurt quite a lot seeing the way Mo reacts to it as well. Because I guess also Mo's actress is better than Chandler Ricks was when Lori was dying, so there's that. But yeah, all of that stuff was actually really, really entertaining. And I honestly wasn't sure whether they were gonna commit. Once again, I didn't know whether they were gonna commit to killing of Grace in this episode, because I mean, shows like this usually don't kill their characters like that, you know? Even The Walking Dead, I feel like maybe has just kind of trained me to expect that the main cast is protected and it's not gonna die. So whenever a main cast character or character connected to the main cast dies, it's just unbelievable. That's the one thing about Fear the Walking Dead. It's far more willing to kill off its characters than the main show, so in some ways that kind of makes it more realistic. So I guess it depends on how you look at it, whether you're a pessimist or an optimist. I like to be more of an optimist because I feel like there's enough pessimism going around in the world, and I don't want to throw my pessimism out there as well. So I'll choose to consider it more realistic. But yeah, I didn't know whether they were going to commit to it or not. I was kind of spoiled about it though, that she was going to die, but whatever. It was still enjoyable to see the way it was executed. Was really, really good and emotional. And even afterwards, whenever you had the scenes of Zombie Grace attacking Mo, that was honestly really well shot. And I'm pretty sure I also wrote it down in my notes, so I'm going to mention it again and maybe get into it more. But I love the way the camera was following her face as she came back as a zombie. Like, that was some really cool camera work. And I love how Mo wasn't really willing to put her down and like stab her in the head and everything. And then Morgan comes in and just stabs her quickly and puts her down. Like, there was a lot of cool camera work in this episode. We continue to have some really good music in this episode as well. Ever since last episode, the music has been honestly getting better and better. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily maybe better and better, but it's just been really good and really noticeably good. So I really did enjoy that quite a lot. The thing is though, the episode was fine-ish and like decently enjoyable until those scenes with Grace dying. But to be honest, after Grace died, I feel like the episode was really kind of spinning its wheels at the end there. That's why I feel like it was an episode that had like 30 minutes of content put into a 40-minute episode. Because I feel like the final scene where Morgan was talking to like the main bad lady, it's just, it felt like the scene wasn't really going anywhere. It just felt like it was spinning its wheels and just wasting time until the episode is over. Like, why didn't she just kill him? Why she locked him up in the train car? Like, I don't get that. And also, now that we're talking about the ending of the episode, did anybody else notice the mistake? Did anybody else notice the mistake of one of the guys holding Morgan back losing his mask? Like, his mask fell off of his face, and then the camera switches to the perspective shooting the bad lady, and the mask is still there. Like, that continuity error was really, really funny to watch because it was so obvious. And because literally earlier today I was watching a YouTube video by this really cool YouTuber called Dylan Is in Trouble. He was covering Friends, the TV series, and he specifically mentioned those kind of continuities at one point bothering him, how because in TV show one actor might have a good performance in one take, while another actor has a good performance in a different take. So some of the time they splice it up together like that. When you have a mistake like that, it's so fucking noticeable. So clearly, in the take where Lenny James did better, there was a mistake with like the Padre soldier losing his mask. But in the take where the bad lady had a better performance, I guess, there wasn't that mistake, and they didn't fucking. Why did they keep it? Like, how did they not notice that? It's so in your face. But yeah, that was really funny at the end of the episode. And that's kind of pretty much it for the episode. It was a little bit of a mess, some emotional stuff that I really, really enjoyed. But it kind of ended up on a weird note that was only kind of saved by watching the trailer right afterwards for the next episode, which makes me really excited to get into the next episode. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see how good it's going to be. But if we're following the pattern, it's probably going to be a good episode. And it's the mid-season finale, so it's got to be good, yeah, right? But yeah, I think we should just, at this point, I know I'm kind of just breezing through it. I've recorded several reviews today, so I'm kind of getting burned out and I just want to be done. So I'm sorry if I'm kind of breezing through it, but you might end up actually enjoying this review more than my typical ones, which go for like an hour of rambling. But yeah, there's a decent amount of notes, so it's not like I didn't enjoy this episode or I didn't have things to say about it, but yeah, it just felt a little bit too much of a mess. And especially it was so fucking annoying seeing all these characters just interact with the fucking stupid walkie-talkies. Like, I haven't really been into the criticism of the characters using walkie-talkies all the time. Like, it's not really bothered me as much as it has clearly bothered other people. But in this episode, it was fucking funny. It was borderline funny. So there's that. So before we get into any of the notes, I just want to say how much I like the title of this episode. I really love long, elaborate titles for episodes that mean something. And I really like the name More Time Than You Know. It's a cool name for an episode. Like, I love that kind of episode's title so much. So yeah, let's get into my notes. First thing I've written is, yep, she's dying. We've seen these visuals before when characters die. And in particular, I'm talking about the POV shot from the dying character's perspective. It reminds me a lot of how we saw the visuals of characters like Tyrese when he died, how we were watching stuff from his perspective. Or, for example, when Glenn and Abraham got killed, how we were watching stuff from their perspective. Usually when you're watching from a character's perspective like that, they are probably gonna die. So it definitely kind of felt like it telegraphed the fact that she was gonna die in this episode, even if I wasn't spoiled about it a little bit, because I read the fact that somebody was gonna die in this episode beforehand. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Next thing I've written is, Olaf Padre couldn't clear it, but Morgan can, which is another thing that kind of bothered me about this episode. For some reason, I was really kind of bothered by stuff in this episode, and things that usually don't bother me just really piss me off. Like, usually I wouldn't be bothered by the stupid idea of all of these soldiers couldn't clear this location of zombies, but this one special main character can. Which is something that we've had in like the main show as well, so it's not like it's a new thing for the Walking Dead universe. But in this episode, it just kind of bothered me that all these Padre soldiers cannot go in that place with the containers and kill all the zombies. But Morgan can? This one guy with a fucking stick can? Are you fucking kidding me? And then by the end of the episodes, it's Mo and her fucking teen friends that go on to clear the place. So that is even more stupid and ridiculous, and I hate it. But I guess we're going to have to wait to see next episode to see where it goes. So there's that. Yeah, the next thing I've written is, a year. That's a lot more than a day. That is probably my favorite line of this episode, and that is in reference to Mo saying that line to Grace, because Grace throughout this episode doesn't want to be saved. She doesn't want to go and get that radiation treatment that is potentially going to stop her from dying to the zombie bite, and instead she just wants to take this day uh, uh, and it, like leave it with Mo and Morgan, and just have fun for that final day as much as she can, so she can die happy. But if she does go through the radiation treatment, she would potentially only survive for as long as the cancer that she's suffering from would keep her alive, because she's still suffering from that radiation from closing down the power plant in season 5. It's caught up to her, as she says. And Mo just says that a year is a lot more than a day, and I really like that sentiment, which kind of makes me feel better about the possibility of like my mom dying eventually, or like my relatives that I care about dying eventually, because it just kind of makes me think of the idea that I learned from Markiplier, which he mentioned in like an interview with Anthony Padilla, or Padilla, I don't know how you pronounce his name, which is that by the time you're like 20 something, you've experienced like 90% of the time with your parents that you're ever going to experience on average. So that basically means that you've already likely lived through the happy memories that you were ever going to make with your parents. So it kind of makes me feel like a lot more calmer about my relatives dying. Both that idea, that thought process that Markiplier had, and this line here. It's like, even if it's just a year, it's still more time than just a day. So basically, it's about cherishing the time that you have. That sentiment that I really, really like, that it's really emotional, that I really liked. Next thing I've written is, man, I don't want Dwight and Sherry to lose their kid. Because like I said, in this episode, it seems like he's getting sick again. Is he gonna get cured again? I don't know. Why are we just switching back and forth? Can we just decide, are we gonna keep their kid or not? Because I really don't want them to suffer through that. But it's like, I was suspicious that he was gonna be fine. I don't think that it would be that easy with the way Fear the Walking Dead does stuff nowadays. Like, they are not afraid to commit some atrocities to the characters like this. So, yeah, there's gotta be some kind of consequence, and I wonder how they're gonna wrap up that storyline. So the next thing I've written is, stop with the goddamn walkie-talkies. Once again, I'm not a person to really get bothered by this kind of thing, even when it's played in... It's bothered me only when it was kind of started to happen in the main show as well. I feel like in like the final season, they kind of started doing it too much as well, where you have the characters talking through walkie-talkies as a way of convenience. In this episode, everybody's fucking talking to each other on the same fucking wavelength without switching channels, so even the bad guys can hear them, and they're supposedly like hiding from the bad guys. So why are you not trying to talk on channels, radio channels, that they're so they cannot hear you? Like, it's so stupid and nonsensical. It was bordering fucking parody, I feel like, with how the characters were just kind of interacting through the walkie-talkies. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, that was super egregious. Next thing I've written is, what's a telephone? Which is a reference to a scene where Mo is talking to Grace. I don't really know exactly what was being talked about, because Grace was whispering at that point in the episode because she was dying, and I wasn't watching with subtitles, so I don't know what the fuck she was necessarily talking about. But she mentioned something about a telephone, and again, this was like very similar to that scene where Mo saw Grace and Morgan kiss, and she clearly didn't know what kissing was, so she's like, what is that? And I kind of like that. I honestly wouldn't mind more scenes like this where Mo is questioning things about life before the zombie apocalypse, and things and concepts that she wasn't aware existed and what they mean. Again, it's a perspective that we haven't really experienced and or had a character perceive before, that I really enjoy. I feel like there's some merit there to explore even more than we already have with Mo here. Next thing I've written is, man, that actually hit me hard, which is in relation to to Grace's dying, because seeing Mo cry over her mom dying just really kind of hit me. You know, it just hits me. I don't know what. I think the reason why is because it's like a preteen or a teenage girl crying over her mom. And if any of you have watched my reactions to Ghost Whisperer, you see how much, for some reason, having a teenage or a young girl as a character that cries really gets to me and makes me want to cry. It's the same thing in this episode. Seeing her cry makes me want to cry a lot. So yeah, seeing her cry over her mom and call out her mom after she ends up dying just hit me. Next thing I've written is also the camera work was really, really cool, which I believe is in relation to the scene where right before Grace dies, she tells Morgan that she loves him, and Morgan tells her that he loves her, and the camera kind of spins a little bit around Morgan. That was honestly really nice and a really cinematic shot, and I really liked it. And the next thing I've written is, man, the music is really nice the last two episodes. I already mentioned it, but in this episode as well, and in particular that scene was really, really good. I'm honestly kind of half surprised that they didn't use that stupid theme that they played during John Dory's death and Nick's death, especially because they played it last episode in like a non-death scene. But I guess it would have been too obvious that they don't have any other tracks to use, so they just didn't use it there. But yeah, I think that's also what I was talking about in terms of, man, that actually hit me hard. Like that I love you that Morgan said to Grace really hit me as very emotional. More emotional than I thought it was going to be about it anyway. The next thing that I've written is, that mom that Mo said stabbed me through the heart. I wouldn't be able to put down my mom. Obviously that is in relation to the point in the episode where Grace died. Like she was holding Mo's arm and she just dropped it afterwards. And Mo started calling out for her mom and just said "mom" a couple of times, almost breaking in her voice. And that really hurt me, because that's how I would be in that situation, and I wouldn't be able to put down my mom afterwards. Like I wouldn't be able to stab her in the head if I was in her situation, because with the way that I am, I would just literally wait until she is turned into a zombie to put her down, and even then I don't know if I would really be able to, because I mean, it's my mom, I care for her, I don't want to ever accept the fact that she's gone whenever she does die, you know. I don't even want to mention it because it's so fucking awful. But yeah. Next thing I've written is, man, Walker Grace was really creepy. And also, once again, love the camera work. That is in relation to how creepy they made her face after she died. Like, how quickly it just deteriorated in the sense of, like, becoming very gray and, like, I don't know what word to use, but, like, goo-like, and her teeth looked black and everything. Like, she looked fucking scary there. And the camera work raising while still focusing on her was really, really good and really scary, and I really, really enjoyed it. That was really good. And yeah, just like I said, next thing written is, Jesus, she's really fucking creepy. She was one of the creepiest walkers I've seen in a while, for sure, and I really love that. And the final thing that I've written is, why does everyone but Morgan die? Because the writers suck. So that is in relation to the final scene where Morgan talks to Shriek, the main bad lady, and at that point, Mo decides to go with the teens and the other kids at Padre to go and clear the place from walkers, that is the shipping containers, because there's a lot of supplies there and everything. She decides to go there after her mom died, and Morgan screams that he doesn't die. And Shriek says, have you wondered why that is? And the first thing that came to my mind is because the writers suck. Because the writers don't know what else to do with his character other than punish him by killing people he cares about. Because they killed John back in season 6. Now they killed Grace. Maybe they'll kill Mo. Who knows? Because all the people he cares about die, and yet he keeps surviving. So that was honestly kind of a self-aware moment there. And considering that the next episode is called All I See Is Red, I expect that that episode is also going to be kind of self-aware and have a lot of things, self-aware lines like that. And I'm really, really excited for that. So we'll see where that's going to go. But that's where the episode ended. And to be honest, it was honestly a little annoying because it didn't really feel quite as self-aware in the good way, like how season 6 was. But it felt more like, yeah, we know that our writing suck, but we're still gonna write it like that. Like, it didn't feel like self-aware in like a jokey manner, in like a, yeah, we know that this is something people have criticized us for, we're trying to not write it in a stupid manner anymore. It just feels like, yeah, it acknowledges it, but it doesn't really do anything about that stupidity, you know? But yeah. The best part of the episode for me was just simply the Grace dying stuff. Like, Grace and Mo and that whole scene was the best part. Especially the scene where Mo convinces the other teens to stand back so she can take her mom to the train car and do the radiation treatment on her, which doesn't work. But hopefully it's going to work on Dwight and Sherry's kid, because I don't want him to die, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a little bit of a mess of an episode. Doesn't really feel like quite as thought out, as clear and concise as it should be, but it was fine. It's like we're definitely improving in terms of the quality of this season. Like, the worst episodes, which are 1, 3, and 5, are still getting better and better with each one, and it seems like the good episodes of this season, which are 2 and 4 so far, are also getting better with each one. So I expect episode 6 to be actually really, really good. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see about a week or so, and especially even more so for me to review it, and then a couple of months until I get to post the review on YouTube. But you're gonna get it eventually, and hopefully you're gonna like it. But yeah, after giving episode 1 7.8 out of 10, episode 2 8.6 out of 10, episode 3 8.2 out of 10, and episode 4 9 out of 10, for this one I think I'm gonna have to go with an 8.4 out of 10. Because like I said, it was more enjoyable than episode 3, for sure more enjoyable than episode 1, but still not as good as episode 2 and 4. But I did like it. A decent amount of good scenes. There were just a lot of more frustrations and stupid contrivances that we had in this episode that bothered me. But the emotion, which is the most important part, was at least there. So I'm satisfied, you know. But I am curious, what do you guys think about this episode? So comment your thoughts down below, and let's have a discussion about this. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently 5 patrons on Patreon. Omar Bridgman, Deadpool, Corby Dead, Dane Harty, and Peyton Jones. Thank you guys for your support, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me that you have decided to support me, you have continued to support me such a long time. Hope you continue to enjoy my content and continue to support me going forward. Thank you very much. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, check out the next description to my Wattpad, where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you enjoy my stories, or if you enjoy my videos, you can head over to my Patreon or to my Coffee account, where you can pledge support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do any of that, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think that's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!